You kids get off my lawn! Well, there. You guys don't understand how hard it is to do that voice. Right? So, hi there. My name is Charles Ray Dawson. I'm the Associate Broker Residential Sales Manager at ProStar Realty. This is the Unnamed Real Estate Podcast, episode 209. And how y'all doing? Well, my old friend's back again. So, yeah, I'm not going to go into any details exactly how that happened, all right? But let's just say, it was an adventurous night. And since I got my kids coming in today, maybe I can, we've tried the carrot. Now it's time for the stick. So, anyways, it's been a very busy day in real estate, very busy week in real estate. This is, I was foretelling in the prophecies, it's January and everybody's kicked off with everything. And we're just rocking and rolling all over the place. I got, what do I got going on? I got the wrong screen going on right now. So, wait one. Little mistake is going to cost me a couple more minutes in the editing booth. So, well, let's see. Where are we kicking off at? Busy week in real estate. Busy week in real estate. All the contracts are picking up. And I still have not gotten over that cold. It's just, this chest thing just comes in every once in a while. I'll be fine like for several hours. I can even go karaoke and it's like all of a sudden I'll just have like a 5-minute hacking attack. So, where were we starting up? Okay. So market's doing what the market's doing right now. Nationally, we're still trying to work through, the change in the offices and stuff like that. I'm seeing, all right. This is how the world's working right now, okay? I'm literally listening to podcasts that were recorded 7 o'clock Eastern time, and I listen to them in the morning when I make breakfast, about 8 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, and it's already obsolete. And for those podcasts out there who are dropping, once a week kind of stuff, by the time some of these guys start talking about tariffs, the tariffs war is already over and we're off to the next thing. So, and this is causing a lot of stress and chaos. And the guy who did Dilbert, this guy right here. Oh, by the way, yeah, somebody got me this Dilbert cartoon thing. I need to flip it over because it's still stuck on Tuesday. But Scott Adams, mentioned the other day that the current dynamic that's going on right now is very, very normal for anybody who does any kind of tech stuff, Silicon Valley, any kind of go fast and break things kind of economy or market. But for the rest of the world, this seems like nothing but chaos and confusion. Well, we're starting to see that trickle down onto the real estate side. I mean, mostly because the builders got caught flat-footed last week, all right? And you remember a lot of them were stopping, hey, we don't know about these tariffs and this and that and the other thing. We don't know what's going to happen to our, so they stopped putting in new building applications. Well, by the time they had made that announcement, by the time I recorded, the stuff with Canada has pretty much been taken care of, right? And we're still going to have the issues with whether or not these people can be, can find employees. I did notice something along the lines of, I thought this was really interesting. Steve printed out a chart last week and it was showing all the increases in the cost of building a house. And the one cost that has gone down was framing, which is a major cost of the house itself. It wasn't the drywall, wasn't the kitchens, wasn't the plumbing, wasn't electricity, wasn't the foundation. Framing had actually gone down, and this is what's going to be impacted by any potential employment issues. So watch this space, kids. I'll let you know what I say when I record it, but if you're not watching it the night I'm recording it, it might be obsolete by the next day. All right, so that's why you need to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the button down there, subscribe. What else are you going to do on a Thursday night except watch my smiley face? Really? So, anyways, that's all going down, and this look like we're going to have a whole bunch of unemployed people floating around Washington, D.C., and I swear to God I put that on Do Not Disturb, but it's Omar. All right, agent, got to talk. do not tell my agents this, but every one of them are actually set up on this thing. When I go to do not disturb, they can call me when I'm at do not disturb. I tell them not to call me before and after 8, like after 8 or before 8. But I got one of them, she calls me at like 7:55, 7:59. She goes, I can still call. And then she takes up 20 minutes of my life. But where were we at on that? Okay, do we need to go back to the top? Anyway, so the what we're going to do with these employment numbers and stuff like that is like, how are we going? How is this going to impact our builders going to like hold off and building inventory? And it's the same thing. Peter Zahan did an entire thing about real estate earlier this week, and he's sitting there talking about all the big thing, and then he breaks it at the end of it, says, but this is general. This is, you need to be specific in your market and what your specific market is doing. And so we really want to pay attention to local news, the Cromford Report, stuff that's happening local, and not pay as much attention to Case-Shiller and anything we get on the national news sites. So speaking of, something that you might hear that they could tell you sounds terrifying and horrible is that foreclosures are rising. All right. I just heard 5 bros suddenly gasp and clutch themselves because they suddenly think now's the time. Okay, but let's break it down. The headline will read, foreclosures rising in Maricopa. All right, it will take you to the 5th paragraph, if they even bother to print it at all, looking into Arizona Republic, to mention that historically, God, we are still stupid low when it comes to foreclosures. All right. Basically, we're so far down because of the last surge and everything like that. People have so much equity. You almost really have to go out of your way to get your house foreclosed on. All right. Banks don't know how to short sale. You have equity in your house. I was reading this thing, and they were talking along the lines of, now, here's the other thing. There's the notice of foreclosure, and then there's the actual foreclosure itself. So notices in January were 422, okay, of which 381 were for residential properties, okay, because it's a lot of commercial, all right? And this is back to the level we saw before the COVID-19 epidemic. And we must remember the foreclosures were very light in 2020. If we go back to 2013, the monthly total was around 1,500. Okay, we're at 381. Okay, so we're almost like a fourth of the way where we were in 2013. And if you guys remember 2013, we were coming out of the rebound and everything like that. Equity was going back up. And in 2009, we saw as many as 10,000 in a month. All right, the long-term average for monthly notices of trustee sale, that is the, hey, we're about to foreclose on you. Monthly long-term average is 1,846 for Maricopa County. All right. Now, just because you get a notice does not mean the bank actually takes your house. Sometimes people suddenly realize, oh, wow, I did have the money to pay that. Sometimes they do things. They sell their house. They call Ray. I get their house sold for them before the bank takes it. All sorts of things like that. All right. So the actual amounts are much, much lower. And all right, for January, there were 63 total trustee sales. All right. About 2.05 a day. It still means really slow down at the county auction place. Still not a lot of things going on in that. And I would hazard to guess out of those 63, a good chunk of them were deceased that did not find, and people could not find the executor of the estate, or the executor of the estate just decided to let it go. Right. If you suddenly find yourself an executor of estate and you have to deal with a property that needs to be sold, please call ProStar Realty. We are here for all your probate and executor needs. All right, so I'm really in a marketing mode this week. What next? For those of you who saw the end of the last week's video, apparently that whole names thing that I did, I threw that out on Facebook independently. I got really, really gratifying reviews and feedback on that. So we're going to see more of those things here in the future. What else? Inman had dropped 2 interesting articles. One of them was a mid-range broker in California who was very upset that they were left out of the settlement, and they do not feel that NAR are supporting the mid-range brokers. They covered all the smaller boutique brokerages, ProStar size, and they covered some of the big boys, right? But the mid-range people sort of got screwed. So And that was the complaint on her point. It was a pretty good article, really pointing it out. Why didn't NAR protect these brokerages that can hold, 1,500 to 2,000 agents? All right. Why weren't they included in the settlement? Don't know. It's interesting. Other thing we got coming down along these lines is nationally is there a lot of people report they've come up with a term for cold dead hand houses. Now they're using the term stranded. Oh no, they're stranded in that house. All right. They're stranded in their 5-bedroom, 3-bath with the pool and the 3-car garage. They can't possibly move out. And a lot of cases it's just over leverage, overpayment, and they've had that house for 15 years and they refinanced it 17 times, and they don't have enough equity to get out of it and put down on a new house, even if they were downsizing, right? And get into the normal churn, that cycle of life I keep talking about, and so now they're considered stranded. I was talking to a loan officer this week, and we're all, us in the business, we got our interest rates in the 2s right now. We're literally, our mortgage payment goes down every month just based on inflation. All right. So like I said, this, and I've been saying this for quite some time, this takes a chunk of inventory out of the market. All right. It's providing, from an economic standpoint, it's providing housing to a household. That's the job of a house. An apartment. That's the job of housing, to provide housing to a household. But so it's doing that, but it's not in the churn. It's not getting freed up. It's not being opened up to new people coming into it. And that's a problem. So another podcast that I follow, and honestly, I just started listening to them just because I wanted to hear them squeal about the last couple of weeks. They started mentioning about housing, and they were talking about tariffs, and they had a interesting outlook on the potential impacts of tariffs, right? When Walmart came into play, and if you're old enough, you remember Kmart. Remember when Kmart was the Walmart, and they were running small businesses out of towns, and when Kmart showed up with their blue light specials, it was the death knell of the mom and pop corner store. With the tariffs being reduction in the free trade and everything that kicked off in the 80s to early 90s and everything, and NAFTA kicked in, the overall consumer prices for goods, both durable and non-durable, fell dramatically. And Sarah, who I have a crush on, who's talking on the podcast, not just random Sarah, but a very special Sarah, she mentioned that modern day houses have changed and evolved to reflect the new commercialism or consumerism of the population base. Right? Why are walk-in closets suddenly a big thing? Because people buy more clothes. Why can they buy more clothes? Because they're cheaper. And that's why I love her. Every once in a while she says something like that. I don't like her boyfriend. She needs to dump his ass and go off on her own. But yeah, hey, that's a whole different story. But I'm sitting here listening to it going, okay, a little bit to add to the house anthropology. Why don't these older houses, right, built in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, right, even early 70s, don't have modern day closets? Well, because back then you didn't have as many shoes. You didn't have as many clothes. You didn't have as many suits. These things were expensive. Right? Now that they're all made by Chinese sweatshop labor, you can, I got an entire drawer of nothing but t-shirts because people keep giving me t-shirts, right? I have to cycle through them. I got 2 t-shirts in there and I'm like, wow, I've never worn those. I bought them. They went in the drawer, but I've never worn them. All right. So this is one of the things, is that modern bedrooms, modern closets, are reflecting today's consumer society. And that's why 40s and 50s and 60s houses, generally, for modern day buyers, they want to see those things renovated. They want a walk-in closet to suddenly come out of nowhere. They want more space in the master bedroom so they can put their dressers to put their stuff on. They need a big screen, well, for a big screen TV in the bedroom. Okay, don't put televisions in your bedroom, guys. All right, anyways, so, and the rest of her conversation was, that really got me going, was, if the price of consumer goods starts to rise again, so instead of somebody out there having a walk-in closet full of shirts and slacks and dresses and suits and whatever the hell you put in there, we start reducing the amount of clothes that we have, will smaller closets suddenly be a practical thing? And if that starts happening, is that going to increase interest in the 40s, 50s, and 60s built houses that more into the urban area and into the center of the city? This is the kind of conversations that keep me up at night. So anyways, I just thought that was fascinating. All right. So will tariffs decrease American commercialism because we can't afford to live that lifestyle anymore? Somewhere out there, there's some, Zoomer or millennial who's getting ready to blame the boomers on that. All right. Go get them, kids. All right. So let's talk about our numbers real quick, because you want to talk foreclosures? I got a market that might have foreclosures. All right, this one's going to be fun. All right, so our numbers these will run February 5th, and then we'll come up. 2025, the actives this week are 22,138, up 24 from last week, but we are seeing that rapidly slow down, okay? The surge of new housing is pretty much coming to an end. All right. Our new listings coming in are 2,495, down 17. Those have been dropping for quite some time. All right, our contracts are 2,419, down 35, and our closings were 1,488. Coming soon to an MLS near you is 820 new listings. So that's our January surge. We're done. We're done through that January surge. Now we're going to start seeing, the inventory start drawing back over time. Sooner or later, maybe next week or the week after, you'll see those actives start to come down. What concerns me is we're seeing contracts come down. Even though, if we look down here at the Crawford Report numbers, okay, there's 87.5. That is our amount of supply that we have. More houses on the market than we did before. Our demand is at 76.9. Also tracked up a little bit. All right, but because they balanced each other out, Crawford Report numbers stayed the same at 87.9. We are still technically in a buyer's market. Let's break it down to some of the cities. And remember guys, this is I cannot go through all the different markets in Maricopa and start talking about Levine and Tullison, that kind of area. These are the big cities, though. All right. Chandler's still leading the pack and climbing at 4%. All right. They're at 156.6. All right. Our sellers markets right now are Chandler leading the pack with Tempe, Scottsdale, Paradise Valley, Rich People Don't Care, Gilbert, Fountain Hills, Phoenix at 121, Mesa at 115, and squeaking in under the wire is Glendale at 113.4. Yes, Glendale, you are still a buyer's or a seller's market, but you don't have that big seller energy. So hope your O game's good. All right. And then our balanced markets that we have going out there, it's Avondale, Cave Creek, Peoria. All right. And if you notice, Peoria has come up 5%. While Cave Creek, Avondale, and Glendale are all falling. Then we get into the buyer's markets, right? And this is where the buyers got the stick. Okay. Goodyear, Queen Creek, Surprise, Buckeye. Hold on for a second. Another agent. Okay, so, man, everybody's just hacking into my stuff today. All right, so, like I said, our buyers areas are definitely Goodyear, Queen Creek, Surprise, Buckeye, and Maricopa. I want to call out Maricopa because Maricopa is at 48.3%. They're down 13%, and they have not shown any rise in prices. In fact, their median sales price seems to be going down. Maricopa, if you have bought since August 2021, there's a really good chance if you're in Maricopa, you are underwater right now. Right. So Maricopa is also Pinal County, so it'd be really interesting to see what Pinal foreclosures are going to look like. All right, but that shows that's a dangerous place to be. Now, I think there's deals to be found in Maricopa. I am, especially for first-time home buyers. Now we want to talk about, are you a first-time home buyer with a long plan? All right. If you're a first-time home buyer and then it's and then 5 years, I'll get the big promotion and move to Seattle, you might not want to buy in Maricopa. right? But if you're something like that, it's like, I wanted a starter house, but then when we outgrow this and we start having kids, then we'll buy a bigger house just based on the size of the Maricopa houses. If you're talking about a place that you are like, and then we have kids and we raise them, you can get a house, you can raise your kids all the way up through high school in Maricopa. Right? That's 18, 20 years. Okay, where are you going to be in 18, 20 years on a house that you picked up at 400? If the next 5 years are bad for Maricopa, you got 15 good years on the other side of that. Make sense? So, I was talking to a lender this week, and he's got a cousin living with him from back east, and he's trying to convince his cousin to buy a house. And he's like, where else out there can you take $25,000? And that's 5% down on a $500,000 house. All right, so you just paid $25,000. All right, and you invested into a house, making a payment that you're going to make anyways because you're going to have to pay for housing. And 2 years later, okay, your property is now worth $50,000 more, or $25,000 more, and you've effectively doubled your initial $25,000 investment in 2 years. Right. Now, the math's a little bit harder than that because remember, you have to liquidate that said asset, okay, and it's going to cost you money to liquidate it, and it's going to cost you about, right now about between 6, 7, 8%. All right. So, hey, let's take that off. All right. Hey, what's 8% of 500,000? That would be 40,000. Whoa, that sounds really, really high. Let me double check on that. Yeah, 40,000. So you actually need that property to hit 550, right? But if it's in 2 years, this is 525. In 4 years, it will be about 550. 5 years definitely on that. So, that's how the math works out in these things. So, think about it along those lines. Are you going to be in that property for more than 5 years? Any area. If you say you're moving next year, don't buy a house this year, right? Nobody else out there will tell you that. I'll tell you that. I tell people all sorts of things, and everybody knows where I'm going with this because I'll tell you to watch your children and pets around water. All right? And I will tell you, do not drive in anything flooded. We haven't gotten our monsoon yet, but it will come. All right? I'm the kind of guy who tells you, always work your circles, call your mother. She misses you, and you guys have a great weekend.